Tapping in.
Are we live?
Let's bring us back to this question. This question of if people who operate in capitalism and people who are making various investments to achieve, whatever ends, whether that's purely profit or whether that is beneficial to more than one's own self, your investments make you beholden to your previous investments, your next investment, and whatever the costs of doing your current business are. And so, is it possible? And all of that is dictated by the market of supply and demand. And so, with all of those forces, all of those invisible hands, as they call them in economics, right, on your project, is it possible for that to be rooted in something moral? And how that loops into our current news is our boy Hove has just sold Tidal to the tune of $297 million.
Well, if we're getting specific about it, the New York Times says that Square acquires majority of Tidal, Jay-Z's streaming service, in $297 million deal. What did Jay-Z and Jack Dorsey talk about when they went yachting around the Hamptons together last summer? I hate how New York Times writes like that. Like, just give me the facts. Square, the mobile payments company led by Mr. Dorsey, who owns Twitter, by the way, announced on Thursday its plan to acquire a significant majority of Tidal, the streaming music service owned by Jay-Z and other artists, including Beyonce, Jay-Z's wife, and Rihanna, who is a client of Jay-Z's entertainment management company, Roc Nation. Square will pay $297 million in stock and cash for the stake in Tidal. Jay-Z will join Square's board. Damn.
Word. Hey, congratulations for reading. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
But yeah, so he sells Tidal, and this loops into a conversation that we had last week about him also selling Ace of Spades, right? And so what I had expressed during that conversation was that I feel like it's dope that he's getting money. It's dope that Black products are being recognized as valuable, and companies that have the momentum to have longevity, and that companies are seeing that and willing to pay for that and incorporate that into the portfolio. But I liked there was a Black champagne that I could go use. And I said during that conversation, we'd heard rumors of Tidal being sold, and I liked that my streaming service was Black. No longer. You know what I mean? Now there's a different conversation, as you mentioned, about the artists owning it, and what that says about the music industry. Now that's a minority share, now that Jay-Z is not the majority shareholder, that conversation changes a little bit too. But I'm glad that they kept and noted that they mentioned often that the artists kept their shares of Tidal. But yeah, I certainly, as a user that was like, I was glad that my streaming service was Black. I don't feel the same way about Tidal anymore.
Yeah, and it brings us to the question of how Black, what is our loyalty to Black brands, right? Like, how Black do we want a Black establishment to be in order for it to qualify for any consumer that seeks Black owned businesses only? So for instance, with Bevel, right? Bevel was the man's shaving cream. The man's shaving
Word, I bought my pops a Bevel. It's a razor. It's like embedded in like like the head that you would hold, almost like a Gillette razor, but it allows you to encase a straight razor that way. So it gives you a real clean shave, especially if you have curly hair. And it was designed for Black men, right, in the sense, or Black people with curly hair. So shout out to Bevel.
Shout out to Bevel. Now Bevel got sponsored. Bevel got financed by Procter and Gamble, I believe. I think it was a $50 million deal that they got to them. So now that there is a bigger interest in a white-owned entity into what we have just described as a strong Black-owned company, the question then is, does that, and it's the right question for us to ask as users, which is, at what point does it still qualify for it to be considered a fully Black-owned company? My personal belief is that some companies require additional capital in order to grow and increase the type of impact that they want to do. It's possible that Tidal is unable to garner as much momentum and attention because it does not have the capital. It does not have the capital to be able to rely on some of the incentives that, let's say, some of the other music streaming services would have. We know that Spotify comes with massive capital. We know that Apple Music comes with massive capital. So they're able to then, for instance, get Drake into these Apple exclusive deals and usher out some of these financial things that they can do. Let's say, for instance, yeah, let's put this into perspective. The Joe Rogan deal going to Spotify is more than what Jay-Z's deal is. No, 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 I'm lying. I'm totally lying. Yo, you there?
I'm there.
I
Yeah, I hear you.
I can't hear you. The connection was timing up, but I think we are back. Like, all right, cool. Ready?
Yep.
All right, cool. The Joe Rogan, if we're putting it into perspective, the Joe Rogan deal, $100 million deal, is half of what this whole majority stakeholdership in Jay Z's deal is, right?
A third. It's a third because it's
It's it's a
100 million and they're
it's a third.
297 million. So it's a third. Yeah.
It's a third,
And so
but one
that's still
contract.
substantial.
Not to cut you, but just to finish off the thought, right? One contract of
Yeah.
one entertainer on one platform is a third of majority stakeholdership of an entire platform. So the capital differences are quite significant.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I think the question that brings to mind is like, do you have to be a giant to survive, right? Like, there might be something to be said for just being the black owned company and the artist owned company, and maybe, yeah, you're never going to be Spotify, you're never going to be Apple Music, because you don't have one. You're, first of all, you're never going to be Apple, and Spotify ain't Apple because the hardware base. But you got Spotify. Like, you don't have to do you have to be Spotify, or do you have to be competing to be one of the top major players, or is there room for the and yeah, for sure, you can, like, I'll be corny and say the moral option, right? But like, just to be like, yeah, this is just the black owned, this is the black owned version. And you know what I mean? Like, shea butter by, you know, homegirl is never going to be the same as Jergens, or is never going to be the same as, these huge companies, right? But there's a market for it, people need it.
Let's get a little bit more specific and personal, which is something that we both have said we wanted to be able to do on this podcast, right? So one of my occupations and businesses is a food delivery service in Namibia, which has now grown to be the largest food delivery service in Namibia, right? Chomi Bites, founded by CJ Dumeni, who is our CEO.
Yeah, horns for Tommy Bites. I'm sorry, but I can't allow you to speak on Tommy Bites without knowing your credentials, sir. Who are you to speak for Tommy?
Oh, I'm the CFO right now. I'm the CFO right now, and an equity holder. I
Oh,
own.
oh, excuse me.
I said excuse me, but I'm an equity holder as well, right? So where we are in the infancy of the startup, which has been operating now going on to 2 years, is that, like, we need to expand our operation, right? What we have seen is that we have gotten 50 different drivers jobs in a market where unemployment is through the roof. There's no job opportunities. There's 50 drivers that are uploading onto our site. You know what I mean? We've given 50 new people opportunities to get some passive income. um, the We want to be able to increase that impact. Thank you. I thought that was some fly stuff too. So we want to be able to increase that impact, right? And so part of why I took on this project and why it excited me so much is that it gives us the opportunity to try and move an entire group of people that are not yet hooked onto the a digital economy. We're trying to get them to move into that digital economy. So some of the issues that we have to solve are what makes somebody comfortable enough to be able to purchase something online, like what makes them comfortable to exchange cash out, right? And so what we realized from very early on is, one, you have to meet the market where it is. We're speaking to these people. We start on WhatsApp and on Facebook, and then from there migrated them to a website, and now migrating them to the app store that has now launched, right? So slowly guiding people towards this process of digitalization. We are growing at a rate now where we need to take on more capital in order to hire more people to run the operations, pay the drivers more capital, get some hardware into some of these different restaurants and stuff um, that don't have, let's say, tablets or phones in order to upload their orders onto our system, and also move into our second phase of growth, which is last mile logistics, right? Which is now hooking onto putting our API onto the e-commerce stores and then delivering all of the food into the e-commerce stores, introducing things such as same day delivery into Namibia, which is something that is not a promise when it comes to e-commerce. We're bringing in 1 hour or less food delivery, which is something that they've never seen before. So in order to be able to have that impact, we need to take on capital. Now, as we are a fully black owned company, however, I'm the capital that we want to interest is white capital.
Sure, right?
You see what I'm saying? So it to me, when I see, let's say, Tidal being having majority shares bought into Square, I don't immediately run to the thought of, oh man, it's no longer a black company or whatever. I run to, oh, now it has more capital to probably execute on some of its main initiatives that it wanted to do in the first place.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, but what are those? Does it though? Because does it have the room to capture the main initiatives that it had in the first place, which was artist ownership? I think if Jay-Z's divesting from it significantly hinders how much it was artist owned. I don't think that Jack Dorsey's buying of it is to further the dream of what Tidal could be as a game changer in the music space. I think it's Twitter is struggling to compete with Instagram and TikTok and needs to integrate music quickly.
Mm.
And Tidal was low hanging fruit as a place to get that. So
Mm.
I mean, I guess it depends on your perspective on what the best intentions of the market are and what the market demands, and whether or not the first thing that occurs to you in a business sense is that it's no longer black owned. But the fact of the matter is that it's no longer black owned, and to me that makes a difference. And I rest in white ownership Tidal.
No, but listen, and you're very much entitled. Entitled. You're very much entitled to have that opinion as a consumer, right? You're very, very much within your rights to decide what your barometer of what constitutes as a black company is. And I fully encourage all consumers to think that way, is to hold their dollars and their capital and their money as making as a decision to support into something that you believe in, and or support into something that you don't. If you want to be able to see more black businesses, support and choose with your dollars in order to support more black businesses. If there's a certain standard of things that you believe companies should be doing, take your capital and force it into the companies that are doing that which you do. It's inconvenient right now, but the more people add that cash into there, then it starts becoming a norm. And like we had mentioned earlier in the podcast, it starts becoming cheaper and more available for people. So people treat your money like your rights, like your vote.
Yeah, for sure. And it will be very interesting to see if we ever hear anything from Tidal again. Because as somebody who doesn't use like anything but potentially like SoundCloud as a main music like apparatus, I like just actually deal with the raw like the MP3 files and like buy the music and download it and stuff. So, but I use Tidal because it was black owned, and I when I speak to other people that are even like music heads, right? Nobody else uses Tidal except black people that use that I know, right? So we're again just speaking from my experience. But nobody else that I know uses Tidal except people that use it because it's black owned. So I wonder how much of the base of Tidal are users that use it for that reason. Now it has some fire features that I think outclassed a lot of the other streaming services, namely the fact that it was the first place that I saw a playlist organized by producer. That's fire. So there were some amazing things about Tidal, but it'll be interesting to see what it becomes or if it just fades into the background as a supplemental aspect of what Twitter is trying to evolve into, or because yeah, man, I don't know how many people use Tidal just because they thought it was the best streaming service.
And that's also because of its price point, right? The title price point came in significantly higher than what the other streaming services were offering at the time. You know, there's some streaming services that $7 deals, $11 deals, where title was coming in at $20 at a time where that was significantly higher than what the market was going for. So that immediately definitely put people off of title, and then also they don't. That was still at a time where there was a lot of exclusive wars that were being had between the different streaming services, who gets to drop whose music first and things of that nature. Tidal couldn't compete. It also coincided at the same time where Kanye West was having that fallout with Jay-Z as well. So I think that either could have put a dent in there or something to that sort. And also the way that they rolled out their platform initially, I don't think was the most appropriate way to introduce it. They kind of paraded the artists around as if just advocating. You know, they kind of, it was a little, they were parading the artists around a little bit. It was a little, it wasn't what you'd expect.
A little bit, right? So I think that I mean, and tell me where you want to go with this. We can roll this into I think a larger conversation about Hove and who he is and what he means to us if we want to keep it personal, and how the evolution of that, or we
My
can
Lord
dive
and
into
Savior.
some other shit. I'll leave it up to you.
Hey,
I'm
listen,
wearing wear best, so I can't do anything but be about it.
no, but like, and I like where you're taking us with it. The conversation that I see in that question lies in a millennial's point of view of hope, right? Like who does hope uh, what does hope mean to some your mid to late 20s, your generation Y? We're generation Y.
Oh well, yeah, yeah, I don't know if yeah, is that the AKA for millennials, Generation Y? I
I
think
think so. Are we millennials?
yeah,
Yes,
for sure.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. We are
So
millennials.
I would say I know for sure that my perspective on Hove does not reflect the general perspective on Jay-Z for the average millennial, the average person my age, right? I think I have been more affected and have sought out more information on Jay-Z than most people my age. So for sure, I don't really represent what people think. I don't know. I would say they don't really care that much. I don't know. I don't think millennials care that much about Jay-Z. To most millennials, Jay-Z is Beyonce's wife. Or Beyonce, damn. Wow. Straight like that, but I love Hope too much to stay straight like that. Jay-Z is Beyonce's husband.
You say
Damn.
nobody loves Jay Z the way you love Jay Z.
No, I'm saying I'm sure Beyonce loves Jay-Z much more that he matters as much to most millennials as he matters to me.
Yeah, and again, I think but it goes back into a hip hop thing because there's some millennials that I know that equally are as passionate about Jay Z. For I mean, it's I heard some I heard somebody say Jay Z. They said Drake is Beyonce for niggas, and I I think that's hilarious. But if you want to put where we place Jay Z, it would have to be next to Oprah for me. Whoever Oprah is who Jay Z is to me, in the sense that they're both people had had a late start in their careers, had a lot of attention on them, carried their respective talents at the forefront of their art, and pushed it forward, and were breaking boundaries in the type of different spaces and ways that they increase their network and increase their businesses and have been dominating and have graced so and have aged so gracefully. Jay Z is Oprah, bro.
I think that's a great comparison. I think that's one of the more accurate. Like, yeah, that's great. That's well done, because I think that's spot on in the sense that there are some things that I kind of look at Oprah side-eyed for, right? Her criticisms of, ironically, hip hop, for one, right?
Mm.
And there are things I look at Hove side-eyed for, like the NFL deal, right? What became of that? You know what I mean? Certainly
Nothing, dude.
nothing that
The weekend came, shook himself over, and then it's finished.
nothing that reflected the degree of seriousness that the discussions around the NFL were being had at that time. And so I think just kudos to the fire. That's a fire comparison.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm glad we're able to
I
get
think
to
Hove
that
is,
point.
yeah, man. Yeah,
And
man. So what do you
and
want to do? You want to give Hope some more love? We can do it all day. I got the vinyl on the wall. I'll go get it. I'll read the back of it. I'll show you some pictures. Or you want to do some other shit?